Hey, everybody. Welcome to Another Bad Call, the podcast that proves the refs aren't the only ones who get it wrong. I'm JD, and with me, as always, are Justin and Nat. Justin, how's your week been, buddy?
Oh, man, it's going well. I mean, it's, Monday? So had a good weekend, though. Got the boys signed up for the NFL brand flag football for the fall.
Nice.
We did the Pop Warner in the spring. We're going to try this NFL brand. So that'll be good. And we are 2 weeks away from taking the oldest and dropping her off at college, which is a lot of heartbreaking and scary all at once. So, but excited for her and the opportunities that she's going to have. And just going to be a big change in Big J-Dub's house here.
You want to add to the heartbreak? My youngest randomly 2 days ago goes, "Daddy, I really miss Addie." And I was like, "I know, buddy." And he goes, "Am I ever going to see her again?" And I was like, "Buddy, no."
Pretty much. Who knows? I mean, that's about how her mother and I feel right now. So
yeah, I'm sure it was just one of those sweet little moments, and I was like, "Oh, damn it, I got to try to get him to see her, one more time or whatever before she leaves." But time's running out.
Yep. So, Nat, what's happening out there on the left coast for you?
Just trying to keep a mountain from falling into a bay. So I apologize for being late this evening. Otherwise, good weekend. Good time with the kids. Oh, yeah. No, we trying to keep them out from falling to bay. We had a good weekend.
Good job, Zeus.
I was going to say, did you take your cape off in the phone booth on the way over? Like, what?
No, I put my gavel back in City Hall.
Was this a metaphorical mountain?
No, it's Captain Robert Gray Mountain, of all places. Yeah, for those who don't know, I don't live in the flatlands of the Midwest. I live in a fishing village on the side of a mountain in Oregon. So, yeah, the bay was got some temporary construction spots, and so we have to go through different parts of construction to make sure people are building walls, securing walls properly. Also making sure, like in the case today, we had guys who already cut trees, put trees, and those trees are keeping our stabilized. So, I think we had a mudslide.
So when you edit this, remember to put in the SpongeBob 4 hours later thing.
A few moments later, and
all right.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and skip how my week's going, and we'll just go ahead and move right into this. So before we get started,
let's hear it.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is on the service of your choice, so you can stay up to date and know when we drop new pods. As always, remember to check out anotherbadcall.com, where we will eventually put out some written content. I just fired up the SQL server so I can start doing my stats and all that stuff again, so we'll get some stuff out there for you, and then hit up Add Another Bad Call on most major social platforms. With that, we're going to go ahead and start talking about some quick news and notes that have happened in the last week since we recorded. We'll start with probably the most minor of them all, kind of bash kickers with the rest of the episodes. But Harrison Butker signs a 4-year, $25 million extension that includes $17 million guaranteed. I went straight to the comments for that one because I was curious how that was going to go. And I must have been early because there weren't a whole lot, but it was a lot of people going, just here for the comments type of deal.
I really want to know where Kansas City, with their $50 million quarterback and their super premium tight end and some of the other players that they have on that roster, scrape together enough cap space to pay a kicker that much money.
Cap is a myth, and you can always finagle it. Kick that can, as they say. Speaking of extensions, Tyreek Hill gets an extension. He gets 3 years, $90 million, 3 more years worth $90 million, including $65 million guaranteed. This one's kind of interesting to me, but Nat, do you have a take on Tyreek getting the money?
He's 30, but he ain't dead. I think he's going to be worth the money for 4 years. 34-year-old performance might not be great, but he's going to be
guaranteed. There's outs. I guarantee you.
If I go look at that contract, I bet he's got like a 2-year out, like a team option or something.
It's got to be, but don't they need to pay Waddle still?
No, they paid Waddle earlier.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Waddle got an extension like a month ago or something.
All right, I must have missed that one.
Jalen Waddle extension. What was his?
That's why they couldn't.
85 mil. Well, it was a 3-year, 84.75 at the end of May.
That's why they can't afford to sign Connor Williams back, huh?
Or they didn't want him back at center, and he wants to play center.
Could be.
I don't know. They also had some defensive problems, so
Yeah.
That their whole defense got hurt last year. No. Wide receiver extensions. We signed one too. DJ Moore gets a 4-year, $110 million extension with $82.6 million guaranteed.
This makes me happy on a couple of different accounts. First of all, one of the most professional wide receivers the Bears have ever had. We've had a few good ones. They just haven't stuck around for very long. So I like to see him, the Bears committing to DJ Moore, and then DJ Moore committing to the Bears because he likes what he sees with the direction of the organization. So I like that one in two different directions.
Yep.
Yeah. You can call it team friendly. I like that deal.
I did see where Keenan Allen's people are reaching out to the Bears to talk about an extension as well, but it looks like they may wait and see how he does at this age, whether they want to commit money there too.
Right, got to have some sort of like health guarantees in there too, because you just got to be careful. But you got to like the way. I mean, that signing of Moore is really for me an indication that upper management is very happy with the direction of the team, and that they're saying, look, this isn't a one and done season. We're really trying to build towards something and put him in place for a while. We're really happy about that. Last little news note here. We got Nat, you kind of spoke on a little bit. Apparently there's a Connor Williams signing that is looming. I'll pull up this link again real quick. And so it was Adam Schefter. He was visiting with the Ravens, and the prevailing theory is that he's either going to sign with the Ravens or he's going to sign with the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Rams are in there too.
Have we seen?
What is it with you and the Rams?
A couple places.
I don't know, but I was in the planning commission meeting when I got it, so I might have read Rams and it was Ravens.
I'm just wondering.
I've only seen the two visits, Justin, with those. And then again, I haven't been all over Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, to be tracking all that and whatnot. I'm sure we could look that up fairly quickly.
Cardinals, maybe.
But
I don't recall, but I know he visited somewhere else.
He visited Seattle.
It isn't the Bears. Like, that's what's up with that.
Well, I think Justin hit it on the head in chat.
I don't know. I don't know if they're ready to sign. They want to see if these guys can get healthy, but Nate Davis surely isn't long for this team because he can't stay healthy, and his coaches are getting pissed off at him for not being able to stay on the practice field.
That makes me wonder if they're questioning how hurt he actually is, right? Because if you're hurt, you're hurt. Like, I mean, you can be pissed that somebody's hurt. Woe is me, but it's next man up mentality in NFL. But that's one of those things
practice.
where you look at these guys and you go, if it was a game, could you play? Is there a risk of further injury? If not, get your butt out there and practice because we need to do something, right?
Well, and this isn't a new thing for Nate Davis. This is following him from Tennessee, so
right.
He's got a reputation.
Ned, I know you're real big on the signed Connor Williams bus. So, do you want to shed a tear? Are you concerned? What's your take here?
Like Justin pointed out earlier today that signing of JD Moore ended up having our salary cap. And I know cap is just a myth. And I love the JD Moore signing. Don't get me wrong, but
DJ Moore.
DJ, what am I saying? I'm looking at JD's. I'm sorry, I was looking at JD's name and saying JD. Signing DJ.
They don't look anything alike.
No, but the letters J and D. The letters. I was looking at the letters J and D. No, but as Justin had pointed out, and I don't know why I'm giving credit now, the signing of DJ Moore cut into our cap space. In fact, it effectively halved our available top 51 cap. So there's a chance that they need to save the space, especially if our D-line reserves are near as ineffective as they appear to be in the Hall of Fame game. And sure, that you can't take much away from the Hall of Fame game, but depth at the D-line's already been an issue, so they might be holding back to prioritize. And right. I want Connor Williams, but I understand.
Yeah, any addition to the offensive line to improve them is I'm on board.
Yeah, and there's been some things out there that he may not actually be ready to play until more like November anyway.
That's the other one.
Is it worth spending that capital at this point?
But I know that was the story early. I haven't seen a whole lot about that lately. I mean, the last I heard, they said he's going to be ready to go early in the season.
Well, if it came from Drew Rosenhaus, I won't believe it. But it is the Ravens and the Seahawks right now. Just double checking real quick. I can't find any Rams reference, so maybe I dreamed it.
Yeah, you were hoping because you've got them winning that division. You psycho.
Yes, I'm also waiting for Brian Ayuk to be traded for like 3 magic beans so it weakens the 49ers so the Rams can win the division. Not really.
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone because that's all rumor and speculation at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I think at this point in time, I think it's time we move into the bad call of the week, boys. All right, Nat, why don't you go ahead and kick us off here?
Bad call of the week goes out to the Hall of Fame Village for picking Forever Lawn Care Sport Grass as the field surface for Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium's surface. If you watched the Hall of Fame game last week like we did, that surface sucked. And when you added the weather, it sucked even harder. And so my shout out goes to them.
First of all, bravo on the brevity of that bad call. I'll give you that. This isn't new. This is something that happens almost every year with the Hall of Fame game. It's a constant thing.
It's a field that doesn't get used all that much, and they can't put a ton of resources into it. However, they should keep it safe for the players.
They changed.
Let's just hope that the Bears didn't decide to contract these people out for Soldier Field this upcoming year, because they have a tendency to have trouble keeping their field in good condition as well.
So if I'm doing my research right, this is the second year they've used this particular service. They changed it for the 2023 season. And if anything, from what we saw last week, an indication they need to change it again.
I'll be played at a local high school next year.
See, the surface is probably better.
All right,
Justin, what you got for your bad call of the week?
Bad call of the week for me, DraftKings. It came out late last week that DraftKings is planning to add a surcharge on winning bets in 4 states, I believe, that have an effective gambling tax of 20% or higher. So what that means is if I bet on the Bears in the state of Illinois, I bet $100 and it's at a minus 110. I win that bet, I would be getting back $95 or whatever,
right?
Whatever that works out. DraftKings is going to tack on essentially another 3% to take out of that on top of, so I'd be getting even, $92 or whatever. Yep. And the reasonings that I've seen for this, the DraftKings release had a lot of speak about pleasing the Wall Street and the bottom line and things like that, which, if that's the case, I think this is a sensitive market, the betting, and there are other options. And so if other providers don't follow suit, DraftKings is just essentially shooting themselves in the foot and going to lose market, especially the higher volume players who are going to take notice of that. The other theory that I saw out there was that it could be to try to put pressure on lawmakers to not implement higher tax rates on gambling. Either way, I think is a bad strategy. It's not going to affect us here in Indiana at this point, but Who knows? It could, and it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on because I have a hard enough time winning bets as it is. I don't want to give away more money.
Do you remember what the list of states was? It wasn't big, right? It was like
looking
5.
at it right now.
Illinois, Pennsylvania, Florida, and New York. Or no, not Florida, Vermont.
Vermont
and New York. Yeah. New York is a big market. Illinois with Chicago, big market.
Vermont is odd.
This could be, it's just Vermont just decided to put a big tax on.
I guarantee you, the state came in and said, okay, you want to do this in our state? We're going to put this, tax on it. And DraftKings went, okay.
So I'm reading an article. Going through an article from. Go.
I was just saying, they're not passing along taxes, a tax that they're paying. You pay those taxes on your winnings. That's the way it works. They're passing on just even more bite of the apple. They say you're gonna take that big of a bite of the apple. We're gonna take some of that bite with you.
Yeah, I'm reading an article from crossingbroad.com. It says New York features an online sports betting rate of 51%. Illinois of a rate of 20 to 40, depending on the sportsbook adjusted gross revenue. Pennsylvania has a flat rate of 36, and Vermont has a 31% rate. The hard part is now you have to actually have that extra layer into your calculation of your odds. So now all of a sudden, a 3-1 is more like a 3.12 odds or something like that. And so it's just gonna. You have to factor it in now, and it's just
Well, so either
because the app ain't going to do it for you. Probably, it's not going to do it.
I'm sure.
No, yeah, right. No, I take that back. I'm
sure they'll show you. But what it is your BetMGMs, your FanDuels, your Caesars, whatever the other betting outlets, they're either going to try to follow suit on this, or they won't, and they'll just try to let DraftKings eat the bad publicity on it. Either way, it's either going to push them to other providers, or it's going to push them to offshore illegal gambling where you're not going to be taking any taxes. So I just don't, whatever, if they were going to look for a way to increase revenues, because they haven't posted a ton of huge profits over the years, but if they were going to look to make more profit for the shareholder, they should have gone about it in a little bit more tactful way.
Well, it makes you wonder if it moves out of desperation.
I haven't been paying attention to the share price since they announced it either.
Don't look
Today's
at
not
anything in
the
stock
last
market
since
today.
like Friday, right? I mean, since Friday it's been.
Well, it's been just a bloodbath across the board. Crypto,
thanks,
Dow, Nasdaq, it's all.
Thanks, Europe.
Sorry. Yeah, it's none of it's good. Oh man, my apologies.
No, you're good.
All right. Well, that's enough time on that before we start talking about you betting again. My bad call of the week. I'm going to go non-sports related because outside of watching the Olympics and the Hall of Fame game, I haven't watched a ton of sports at all. Excuse me, man. Killing me here. But what I have been watching is House of the Dragon. And I have an issue here. Actually, I have two. One of them's minor. I promise not to give any spoilers. However, if you haven't watched it, you may get a tainted opinion now. Last night was the finale for season 2. And historically in these Game of Thrones, the finales, there's like a huge cliffhanger, right? Something that just makes you go, oh, damn, like I need an episode tomorrow. I need an episode tomorrow, but the problem is because they left it like it was going nowhere. It was the most anticlimactic season finale I have ever seen. Like, there was no build up at all. It was, the whole season was really like a really slow walk to where we're at. And then they were just like, okay, see you next time. And
2 years from now.
Right. And that's the other part. We got to wait so long. And it's just like, what are you doing? I mean, there was no action really whatsoever to make you go, oh man, I'm pumped up. Like, they've had some, I don't know if you guys have been watching or not this season, but I mean, they've had some good stuff that has happened. And then this one was just like, the most vanilla, boring season finale I've ever seen on any show. It was painful.
I haven't watched it, but that's because I don't have Max subscribed to, which will change. It will change by Wednesday of this week for Hard Knocks. And then
why?
That's been in the plans. That's been in the plans. So I'm going to do that. And I had planned to binge House of Dragon, but it sounds like it might be hard to.
Listen, don't get me wrong. It's still a really good show. Right, but the bar was set so high with Game of Thrones, and there was, almost every episode in Game of Thrones for the longest time. At the end of the episode, you're like, "Damn, I can't wait for the next one." And we have that with House of the Dragon, but it's for an entirely different reason. It's more of like I'm waiting for something to happen. Not Game of Thrones was something happened, and I want to see the reaction. House of the Dragon, I'm waiting for the next one because something has to happen at some point in time. Where is all the action?
No crescendo moment?
Just what's happening? It is the slowest walk of a season like I can imagine for Game of Thrones. It's funny because everybody complained about the last season of Game of Thrones, like skipping and going too fast and skipping through everything. And man, did they go the other direction with House of the Dragon. I mean, season 1, they jumped time periods, right? I mean, they just skipped like 15 years or whatever in House of the Dragon. But the season 2 is, it almost feels like each episode is basically 3 hours of their life, and you just have to keep piecing them together to get to 2 days. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's I didn't bash your beloved Matt Smith or anything. Yeah, you're sold on watching it. Again, still a great show. I still enjoy it. I'm impatient at this point.
I don't get to call you Colonel Runaway, so you're all right tonight.
And if when we do the rewatch, or when I watch them episode 1 through 8 straight through, it may feel different, but having to pause each week and then still be like, hey, what's happening? So there is some good action. It's just, it's an entirely different, but.
Well, speaking about action, we did have some action this past week on the football field.
How long were you saving that up to try to throw that segue in? That's what I want to know.
Well,
he wrote it down. He practiced it in the mirror. He wanted to get it just right.
I've just been looking at the clock here and seeing where we're at on the agenda. So I was trying to move things on to the next episode here.
It was greatly done. Just made me chuckle. I was curious. He must have written that down and been put it on a sticky note, just waiting for it. But speaking of that, you did mention that we did have some action. We had some game action. We touched on it earlier. Hall of Fame game. Chicago Bears, Houston Texans. Nat, what's going on with your QB, buddy? I'm just going to jump straight to it.
You go to it. He had 2 series. He got one of them was a field goal or something like that, and the other one ended on a false start on 3rd and 8, and so they end up in the punt situation. And then that other dude just got the ball a lot. So whatever. I'm okay.
QB2 got the ball a lot.
I'm over it.
I'm over it. 3 touchdown passes.
Oh no, our QB3 got the ball a lot. A couple of those touchdowns were like you could have scored on those.
For those of you not keeping score or you haven't heard it, Nat likes to refer as Tyson Bagent as TB12, much to the chagrin of Justin and I.
Because it creates that kind of reaction out of him. It's fun.
It's god awful.
It started last fall when I said if Justin Fields returned, that I'd wanted to be an open competition between him and Tyson Bagent. Or Baguette, whatever you say his last name.
I'm going to change the show to Nat's Bad Takes. It might just let you talk football. It's a take
that never happened, but Justin and I wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. back last fall. That was our hope. It's like, all right. And at the time, the season hadn't ended yet. So there was a chance that we were actually going to have 2 high picks. Like our 9 pick was actually going to be higher. So it started then. It's like, all right, if it's this scenario and it's this scenario, then this. But if Justin Fields is still around, then I want to see this.
You're the only one that wants to see Bagent compete for the
I've got a guy in my fantasy league that wants to see it too, but I think there might be other motivations there for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
touch those reasons.
Sure as hell don't want to see it now, but yeah,
that's more time on Tyson Bagent than we ever need. Ever
yes,
again.
Stop talking.
Were there any takeaways, Justin? Any takeaways from the game? As much as you can get from a Hall of Fame preseason game.
I don't think there's any real football news that you can take away other than we found our quarterback too, and possibly our last spot on the receiver. A receiver 6 special teams player in Colin Johnson. I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to see him go against some second stringers, maybe see if he can continue to get as wide open as he was this past week. We also know that these 2 teams play in the regular season, so they were really not going to show each other anything of substance.
Yeah, I would love to see what this Colin Johnson kid could do. 6'6", 222. I mean, and fairly quick. Looked like he had decent hands too.
Nice big target, yeah. Like I said, he was getting open. Like it wasn't like he was winning big contested. He was getting open. So.
Sort of, kind of getting open. If you go back and check his first touchdown, they had a who's on first with 3 defensive backs who all went with the out receiver instead of his slot. So he started to do a stop and go, and then these other 3 all followed the out route. So he went down the middle, got a touchdown pretty much untouched. And then his other one was
he was open.
That was
because he had no coverage. Literally, Justin could have caught that one. And then the second one was on an out route and his defender slipped. What was his name? I don't remember. Chris Boyd ended up just slipping and falling on the play. Once again, Justin could have caught that. But then he got into some pressure. He got drop over the middle. He had a good back shoulder, but then the second one, Ford came back and knocked it out of his hands. I mean, he had 3 targets, 6 hits. I'm not saying he did bad. I'm not saying I'm completely poo-pooing his performance. I ain't giving him a gold star like Twitter did. I'll give him a check plus, and I want to see more out of it.
The gold star that Twitter gave him is because it was fun to watch. Like every preseason, there's a preseason darling that comes out that's just fun to watch. You know he's not making the team or whatever it is. They're just really fun to watch play in the preseason.
And that part's
especially
cool.
from the betting markets, because I guarantee you he's going to be picked a whole lot in DraftKings for their next preseason game, right? I mean, it happens every year, but nobody's delusional and going, well, Keenan Allen better watch out because Colin Johnson's coming. Like, he's still like 8th on the depth chart. So
I'm not even give him the 6th spot right now. I'd give him practice squad right now.
Well, that and a quarter gives you a quarter.
There you go.
The only other thing I want to touch base on before we get into Justin, you had a bet on this game. Nat, you wrote something in our chat very early on because the Texans opening drive and just basically do whatever they want and score a touchdown, and you wanted to just fire everybody right away.
It was funny.
I don't know to who. Were you really panicking?
No, I wasn't. God, no, I wasn't panicking. Jesus.
All right.
It was just like, what the fuck? Like,
this is more a testament to the Texans at this point in time. If you look at their second string and their third string rosters, there are a lot of guys that were NFL starters in the last 5 years. Davis Mills was a starter before they took Stroud. And actually, Davis Mills is the whole reason we ended up with the picks that we ended up with, because he threw a massive touchdown against Colts and gave us the number 1 overall pick. Right? So, thank you, Davis Mills. Case Keenum, you Minnesota Miracle Man, if I'm not mistaken, him and Stephon Diggs. I guess the Minnesota Miracle Man is actually Emilio Estevez from Mighty Ducks, but yes, sure. I just said an so you're gonna have to kick me off of here. But Cam Akers was a starting running back, right? So you've got a lot of guys that have done high quality reps in the NFL already, going against a lot of our guys that are just fighting to make the team. So definitely nothing worth panicking. I'll be curious to see what happens in our next game when we start playing some starters.
Yeah, and get on a better field.
But all right, Justin, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to you because you have something you want to show us.
Yeah, being the degenerate that I am, I actually been taking a lot of the summer off from my degenerative ways. However, we had football on, so I was bound to just take a shot to place a bet or two. And I did. I placed a bet on this game. It was the Bears to have 2 passing touchdowns or more at plus 300. It just seemed like too good to be true to get 3-1 odds out there. So you can see on the screen, small bet, $5. It was there by halftime. So always feels good to win the first one.
You don't have to pay a surcharge. So there you go.
Well,
3 miles to spare.
All right. Congratulations, man. That's great. Anytime you can hit a bet, that's awesome. I mean, quadruple up there, right? So
we'll Photoshop it later to make it look like a bigger bet.
Starting my season on a high note. Let's hope it keeps going up from here.
Just call it quits. Just be done with it now, right?
400% winning. 400% ROI on the bets.
Also, in this game, we got to see the new kickoff rules for the first time. How'd you guys feel about it?
It was a little bit underwhelming.
I should direct it. Justin, how'd you feel about it? I'll get somebody directly at it.
I thought that it was a little bit underwhelming, at least thus far. I don't know if teams have some schemes and designs that they have planned for this that they're going to try. We didn't see a whole lot, right? You know, they were kicking it to a place where the receiver could catch the ball and bring it into play, and they were getting to about the 35 or the 25, 30-yard line. Yeah. They're seemingly safe, I guess. Safer for the guys in the middle there. I think it'll take teams a little bit of time to get used to. It'd be nice if we saw some longer returns, or people just kick the ball in the end zone and give it to us at the 30-yard line. I'd be okay with that too.
Well, I think you pointed it out. They're going to play each other in week 1, so they ain't going to give away it. If they've got any other aggressive concepts or schemes out of there, they're not going to try anything. I mean, I think they were just testing it out too. Like you had a couple guys who caught it inside the 1 that probably would have landed in the end zone and let them take it out to the 30, but they're running them out anyways, probably just to get used to the repetition. I think
because you have to.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't.
We'll get into the minutia of it. If you catch it in the end zone, you still have to run it out.
I thought if you let it go, if it goes out in the end zone, it takes it back to the 30.
I'm looking.
Or if it's a touchback flies in the end zone, goes to the 30. A touchback rolls into the end zone, it's out to the 25 or the 20. God, I don't remember at this point.
Well, no, they can't down it in the end zone. But anyway, so real quick, we'll just go ahead and share the screen real quick on this one too, because I want to just look at this landing zone because I find this very interesting. So for those of you that don't know, they switched this rule here so that the kicker, they still kick the ball from the 35. And what happens is you've got a kickoff start line essentially where
you might want to zoom that out.
Is it?
Sorry.
Is it super small?
Yeah.
There you go. So you've got this setup zone over here for the kicking team. That's where the kickoff team is going to go, and then your return team is in this setup zone, and they have like a 5-yard window where they have 9 players, and 7, I believe, have to be on the line. So you can kind of have 2 offset a little bit, and then you've got 2 in that landing zone. And the rules are pretty simple. The kicker, kicks the ball. He cannot cross the 50 until the return man touches the ball, or the ball hits the ground, one of the two. And then these people in the kickoff start line also cannot move. And neither can the setup zone guys, right? Nobody can move until that ball hits the ground or is touched by the returner. And the idea is that you don't have all these guys running full force, just Mad Max collision style. The idea is that they want a little bit more excitement, make the kickoff useful again, because it's just been a useless part of the game for a couple years now. I think it is going to get that. Again, these are 2 teams where special teams aren't exactly their thing, right? It's not, they don't have the most exciting people. And again, it is going to be very vanilla. It was a bad field. It's an extra practice game. You're looking at all the practice reps. I saw they did interview Devin Hester, and he was saying, I want to go. I want to go at it. And part of me was thinking, yeah, suit him up because I want to see it. Because that would have been fun to see how he, a true specialist like that, to see how they do with it. It'll be pretty interesting to see what happens. But I'm excited for this.
I think Hester would have murdered this kickoff. We watched, obviously, with him going in the hall this past weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the Hester highlights over and over.
Yep.
At least I did. They were everywhere and so much fun, and really garnered a lot of emotion from me that I didn't know. Just like the good fuzzy vibes that come from having memories, fond memories of things.
Yep.
And it's been so long since we've had fond memories of our Bears that it was
19
fun.
years ago, right? 19 years ago was the Devin Hester, "You Are Ridiculous."
Oh yeah,
probably.
Man, it's such a fun time.
Yeah. Back when I could still run a 40 without needing an oxygen tank and a wheelchair afterwards. But all right, guys. Anything else on the Hall of Fame game we want to touch base on?
I think
I was just
going
to say congrats to Mongo as well. Long overdue. Feel sorry that they may have waited just a little bit too long. It was pretty heartbreaking to see him.
Yes.
But and then Julius Peppers as well. He's part of the Bears lore, even though I don't know that he's going in as a Bear, but he's just
going in as a Panther.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for Bears fans as far as the Hall of Fame was concerned.
But never been madder than my wife than the day she told me she threw out the old Bears jerseys because I got them from thrift store. Yeah, one of them was a Julius Peppers jersey. I'm like, what are you doing? The other one was Johnny Knox. Who cares? But it was Julius Peppers.
Johnny Knox was at the induction.
Nice.
It's funny you mentioned Julius Peppers jersey. I have an autographed Julius Peppers jersey hanging in my living room.
Nice. But
yeah, so I got a Hall of Fame autograph. That's pretty awesome.
My last thought is I think I'm going to work on a piece this week for the website about Mongo and that time in the 80s. And just watching him literally like dissolve into his bed right now, it's just
Yeah.
I was going back and reading those. It brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. Going back and reading those articles about the 84 Bears, 85 Bears, the way they transitioned, and just remember the employment struggles they were going through back then. And it'll take us off topic. I'll go into the article because we've still got a big thing to go through. But to give one hint, where like Richard Dent got like 17 and a half sacks in 85, he was getting paid like $90,000 to do it. Whereas like William Perry was on like a 4-year, $1.3 million deal and didn't even start till like week eight. So just all the struggles they were seeing to help push forward the game where it was today, and him being a part of that had me going. So I'll try to get it done this week.
Yeah, make sure you mention in there because I was 5 for
the that was
Bears team, right? I know Mongo first
from WCW.
Right? And then it'd be like, no, he was a football player. I go, what are you talking about? Right? So that it'll definitely be cool. I'll be looking forward to that one. So make sure you guys check out anotherbadcall.com for when Nat finally does some work. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah, you should because I don't do jack for that. I don't do jack for that site right now. All right, guys. I think it's time we need to start moving into our main event. And this week, as we wait for the next set of games that happen on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, we've got 2 games on Thursday. We said, hey, you know what? Let's look at our top 3 offensive skill position players. So we're talking QB, running back, receiver, and tight end. And we're looking at top 3 in each. Justin want to do something crazy like top 10. Nat needed like 27 pages of context to figure out who it was going to be. So we simplified it, and we're going to do top 3 in each position, and you can provide whatever context you want for why you picked them. Let's go, I think, tight end, receiver, running back, QB. Or do you want to start with QB? Because that one's probably the most vanilla out of all of them. Let's go QB. Let's go QB.
That's fine. Yeah, I see a trend here. Quarterback. I'm gonna start with my number 3 quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts coming in this year. I guess we're talking overall stats and kind of a fantasy tinge because at least JD and I do a lot of fantasy stuff. We do a lot of DraftKings stuff. We're looking at guys. Football. Yeah. That's thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Anyway, Jalen Hurts, he's got Kellen Moore coming in as his offensive coordinator this year. He's doesn't have Jason Kelce, which I think is going to probably switch up this tush push thing that they did so much last year. I'm not saying they're going to go away from it so much, but I have a feeling they're going to throw the ball a little bit more. And Kellen Moore offenses have been very friendly to wide receivers in the passing game. So when you combine that with Hurts's mobility and how many rushing touchdowns he does end up getting inside the 5-yard line, I think he makes a good pick at number 3. And then my second quarterback is Lamar Jackson. This guy just, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be one of the most dynamic players on the field in the NFL. He can throw the ball. His legs get him all over the field. And now he's got a beast of a running back in Derrick Henry in the backfield. And then to top it off, I don't know how anybody could put anybody else other than Mahomes at the top. 2 straight Super Bowls. He just, even with limited resources when it comes to skill weapons on the offense, he continues to get it done. And his fantasy stats might not be peaking out every week at the highest, but he is consistently there and winning football games and putting points on the board.
Jalen Hurts one is interesting, but because you went from kind of a fantasy perspective, I understand that. Interesting that we talked about Jason Kelce not being there anymore. I didn't mention this last week when you talked about it because I didn't know it. Found this out. He handpicked his center replacement in Cam Jurgens. I'll be really curious to see how that plays out. See if he's a good scout or not. But Nat, why don't you go ahead and take us through your top 3?
Yeah, the only one that's the mystery is the third one. I went with Joe Burrow. I could have gone with Josh Allen, Prescott, Stroud, Purdy, Jalen Hurts. could have thrown any one of them in 3, but I went with Burrow. I liked his precision accuracy, especially when he's healthy, and his leadership talent. So I would have gone. My criteria is based on that game, who's getting you to the Super Bowl. And so I thought I'd put Joe Burrow over the best of them at the moment. And the other 2 are Lamar Jackson at 2 and Patrick Mahomes Jr. at 1. So, yeah, except the only one that's the debate is the 3 for me. So,
all right. Fair enough. I toyed with having Burrow in my top 3 as well. Just because he's got like a swagger and an easiness to him that you kind of want that cool as the other side of the pillow type of deal. Which maybe like my criteria I was looking at is if I'm building a team kind of in the same way of if I'm building a team, who do I want leading at that? So my 3rd, I actually went with Matt Stafford. And just because all the success that he had, right, not as a team in Detroit, but just him as a quarterback in Detroit with, he had Megatron for a while, but that was it. There was nothing else there. There was no run game. There was nothing else going on. It was him. And the success he's had with McVay, obviously. And the thing that sometimes he doesn't get enough credit for is that he's just tough as hell. He's a QB that you're going to have to drag out of that game. So as much as I hated putting a Ram in there so that Nat could start talking about the Rams, I went ahead and ran with Stafford on that one. At the 2 spot, keeping with that same trend, I went with Josh Allen kind of for the same reasons, Justin, you went with Jalen Hurts, and that there is that athleticism there. But for me with Hurts, it's 2 yards and in, right? You're not getting much more with that. Allen can make the deep throws. He can make your short throws. He can rifle it in. He's got touch, and he can run the distance too. And he's going to be a barrel to take down. I'll be curious to see how he does this year, right? Because his top 2 receivers are gone. But still, again, if I'm building a team, who would I like back there? I mean, Josh Allen, before they had any receivers, he was doing everything he could to put that Buffalo team on his back. Yeah. Now, ultimately, he fell short a number of times, but as we've seen as Bears fans, you can only do so much with so little. Yeah. And then I'm in the same boat. You got to have Mahomes at the top because he's earned it at this point in time. He started out, he had Hill, he had Kelsey, but that has since gone away. He still had Kelsey, but he had to win in spite of Kadarius Toney a few times. And, Sky Moore not doing anything, or MVS running really fast and dropping a ball. So Mahomes gets that top spot.
I think just for 2023, that wasn't a typical championship Chiefs team, and what he was able to put back together and still take him. It's just
tough
amazing.
as hell.
Yeah,
tough as hell. If you haven't watched the Netflix quarterback series, just tough as hell. What he went through with that ankle and still played.
Yeah, I forgot all
Not
about
to
that.
mention, this year he does have Hollywood Brown, and he does have Rashee Rice, and
for now
the Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy. So he's maybe he's got better weapons now than he's had in a few years. Also, so
is Worthy the dude that ran like the 4.19 at the combine or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah. We talked about it before in another episode. You guys can go check it out. That may change their offense a little bit. It may take the pressure off of Kelsey. He may still be the one, but it'll be in a much different manner. But all right, let's go ahead and move on, because I think we're going to get into some interesting conversations here on some of these guys. Nat, why don't you go ahead and go first and run through your running backs?
All right. Number 3, I had Bijan Robinson. So him and my number 2. No, it's hard to say because I didn't put fantasy in like as my strategy, but I fumbled between him, almost put him at number 2 because the guy who's in number 2 has burned me in fantasy. So I had to filter that out, but I was going back through his YouTube clips and highlights today. Just his speed and power and quickness is just damn. I can see him even increasing the stats if they can get Cousins to figure out what's going on in Atlanta. He could have an even better year this year, and I think he's that guy. If you want the Super Bowl, I have no problems having him behind me. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey. I still get burned. Like, I didn't watch the last couple of years because having toddlers. So I still have trouble believing he was actually healthy for 2 years. I'm pretty sure it was a myth. And then you guys are just making it all up. But so I had to actually go back through and watch the stats and go back through it and say, yeah, I actually did play 2 full seasons. And if he's like that, then God, I'd want him. Yeah, he's the guy I'd want in the Super Bowl. And number 1, Derrick Henry. He's not going to be your fantasy. He might actually, with what they're going on, if Baltimore gets it together, he might actually go back and be a 300 carry guy again. I doubt it, but he's got that strength. But if you're talking, there's still no one more powerful than him. Like, God, if I had an offense in the Super Bowl, I'd still want Derrick Henry at 31 years old. So that's what I had.
Real quick, you thinking CMC is a myth? Is that why you have the Rams win in that division? Just that alone, because he's a myth?
Well, okay. For the record, I went back and checked the audio. I wasn't as definitive on my pick when you guys were trying to pigeonhole me until later on when we were going back through it. I think between Ayuk being a mystery and the Super Bowl fog, or that Super Bowl loss fog, they might have trouble getting it together as much as the Rams might get it together. But no, it wasn't fully Christian McCaffrey.
If we keep this up, we'll be able to make like a 10-minute clip of just Nat backpedaling from stuff.
Not backpedaling.
Each Justin, I'll run real quick here.
Each week we can do it.
I know. I have a feeling all this is getting edited out, and it'll just be only Nat talking.
The power of the edit button.
So I had CMC at 3. Again, much of the same reasons I had Stafford. He was on a bad Carolina team for a while, and just put the team on his back and did what he could. And played really, really well. He gets over into San Francisco, and he's just been doing the same thing, more of the same. Now, he has a much easier time with the San Francisco team because, I mean, you've got one of the best, if not the best, offensive linemen in football. Linemen, sorry. And it is a good quality line with a really good play caller and surrounded by other weapons that people have to guard, which I'm going to guess is a reason for some omission in some other spots, but he's talented. He's earned it. Then I go to Saquon, and yes, health issues. I get all that. Like, he's had some issues, but again, he was basically the only guy on that Giants team for the last couple of years and did everything he could to get them any success whatsoever. Without Saquon Barkley, that team maybe has 2 wins in the last 4 years, right? So I really just think Saquon, he's set up for a big year. You all remember Tony Pollard with Kellen Moore, Zeke with Kellen Moore too. And now I think you've got a more talented version of that. It ought to be pretty good with a better offensive line. I'm really excited for Saquon in that standpoint. And then in my top spot, I've got Breece Hall. This guy came back from injury and just lit things up last year. And again, on a team where you did not have to worry about a quarterback. You knew it's either going to be Breece Hall or it's going to be a 5-yard throw to Garrett Wilson because that's all the quarterback was capable of doing, basically. So I think Breece Hall is primed for just a massive year this year. So if I'm building a team, I will take any of those 3 backs, but I would prefer Breece Hall first.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm looking backwards, I am putting CMC on my list. I am putting a Derrick Henry on my list. But I'm not looking backwards. I'm looking forwards to this year and projecting a little bit into what I think is going to happen. So, Breece Hall, it comes in at my number 3 spot. A lot of the things you said, I think, we're probably just counting on Aaron Rodgers being healthy and that making it all the more easier for Breece Hall to operate. We've seen Aaron Rodgers in the past would dump the ball off to Aaron Jones and get the receiver or get the running back involved in the receiving game. And Breece Hall has got some moves. So number 2, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions. Probably the most, I'm gonna put them as the most dynamic offense in the NFC because with Amon-Ra and the way their offensive line is set up, the quarterback they've got receiving weapons across the front of the field. I think Jahmyr Gibbs had a really good season last year. He had over 1,200 yards, and that was on pretty much halftime involvement in the offense. I have a feeling he steps ahead of Montgomery a little bit more and maybe makes it more of a 65-35 split, and that just vaults him even more production. And then at my number 1 spot, I do have Bijan Robinson because seeing him when he was coming out of college, he really did look like the next coming of AP, and he was just buried in an offense with a weird mind running and calling the plays last year, and now he's got a new coaching staff, and he's got a quarterback and an actual functional offense. And I think that this could be the year that he really steps in and takes over as the top running back option.
Are you trying to say the best defender against?
I was just going to say CMC, he is like one of the most dynamic players I've ever seen with the ball. He had 336 touches last year, and that's what concerns me going into this next season. His availability, I question whether he can sustain another year of that.
No, go ahead now.
I was going to say, are you trying to say that the best defender against Bijan Robinson was Arthur Smith?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Arthur Smith is the reason I don't have Bijan on my list. Yeah. It's funny, Justin, you were talking about you're looking back, you're looking forwards, and I'm taking, I guess I'm looking backwards. I'm just saying, look, Bijan has all the tools in the world, but he had no opportunity to prove it. So I can't look at that and go, yeah, this is the guy, right?
No, I get it.
He's got the tools, but
this is where we're making stands. Right. We're taking shots on guys. Yep. So JD, why don't you run off your wide receiver for us?
Yeah, I was looking at our boards here, and it's funny to see how different we are in the wide receiver and tight end department. Looking forward, Nico Collins. We talked in a previous recording that you think Nico Collins is going to take a step backwards, and I do expect that there's going to be some regression as far as maybe some scoring, TDs, that sort of point. But this guy was the receiver for them last year. And if I'm not mistaken, that was his sophomore year too. And he had really started showing something in his rookie year too. And that's going to fact check. So please correct me if you see it. And I remember that because I picked him up in a trade when the Texans weren't very good. Is his fourth year?
His fourth year coming up.
Okay. So then he was dumped on somebody's team somewhere, but he's just been getting progressively better. He's a big body. He's fast. He can run the entire route tree. He's got good hands. He can block in there when you need him for the run blocking. And he's young. So he's a prototypical receiver that I want on my team. Then I'm going to flip to the other side of that, and we're going to go Tyreek Hill. This guy, when he came out, he wasn't your, holy crap, this is your number one receiver. But he's worked his butt off. He learned a lot while he was with Andy Reid, and he's just used that. Some of his offseason workout stuff that I've seen, he's just a beast. And it's not just how fast he is. Everybody says Tyreek Hill, he's so fast, he's so fast, he's so fast. And he is. Obviously, he's fast. But he's so agile and he's quick in and out of his routes. And he's got decent hands. He just doesn't have that full big body frame. So what he's done with his size and his speed is just awesome. I'd love me some Tyreek Hill as a receiver. And then last, Justin Jefferson. It's hard not to say he's the best in the NFL right now. It's just hard not to say that. Obviously, I'm not looking at it from a fantasy scoring standpoint this year because God only knows what their QB situation is going to look like. But if I'm just looking at who I want on my team, right? I've already said I'm going to have Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Matt Stafford, and then I add Justin Jefferson to that mix. Yes, please. Yes, please. He's fast. Again, he runs routes. He can go get that contested ball. And he's a gamer. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's afraid to go across the middle to catch balls either. I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Yep. Cool. Well, at receiver, for me, at number 3, I've got A.J. Brown. And a lot of the things that I said about Jalen Hurts pertain to A.J. Brown. And you look at what Keenan Allen did in the Kellen Moore system, getting 15-plus receptions numerous times. CeeDee Lamb got that breakout a couple of years ago under the Kellen Moore offense. And that offense is just designed to get receivers in, get the ball into their hands and let them do things. And A.J. Brown has speed and he has size and he's built. And so I just think that he's a guy who's going to break into that top 3 this year. And second, I had Justin Jefferson. You said a lot of things about him. There's not much more for me to say. He just does. He's a goddamn professional wide receiver who goes and gets open and beats his defender. But the guy I have at number 1, and maybe this one I'm going to say is probably jaded. He won me a lot of money last year in fantasy football. And I don't see him going past his peak at this point. The dude, CeeDee Lamb, is just a machine. And that guy broke open so many games last year with huge numbers. He can do the big play down the field, but he can be your possession receiver and do it. And he's everywhere. They move him all over the field. They get him open. So CeeDee Lamb is a stud.
Yep, hard to argue with that. All right, now who you got at receiver?
All right, number 3, and wide receiver is the one I actually probably spent the most time going back on video on. There's a couple of them I had to go, wait, who's that again? I had Justin Jefferson number 3. Like JD hit it up. My only concern is he only played 10 games last year, so the reports sound like he's going to be doing good, but they're going to be healthy. But it still it gives cause for concern. Still, I won over in the Super Bowl with that guy. CeeDee Lamb was the one I probably ended up watching the most video on, because every time I saw a video and I saw like other players talking about him, I wanted to watch another one. He's just got such mojo and power when he plays. I'm like, I like that mofo. That dude's awesome. So I'd want to run a Super Bowl with him. And then Tyreek Hill, sustained success, 30, age is but a number for him at this point. I think he has another season like he had, similar to last year. And a lot of good chatter coming out of Dolphins, but I filter all that out. I'm still, who's the guy I want to win a Super Bowl with? Sure, Tyreek Hill's a little crazy off the field, but that's probably a good kind of crazy, especially when it translates on the field. So I want there. And by the way, Justin, when you're filling your stuff in on Google Sheets, and I chatted, and I was like, hold on, I'm making a change, but it has nothing to do with Justin. I was swapping CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. So when you end up typing, I was like, no, I didn't think I had anything to do with it. I just liked him that much.
Yeah, and like I say, I don't really use your opinion when I'm forming mine. So
no, and once again, I said I didn't want you to think I was.
When it comes to football,
I didn't want you to think I was using your opinion to inform mine. So it's clarifying there.
No, it's all good. So I mean, a lot of good players. Tyreek, the dude is, Ty Freak. That guy is incredible. But like you said, he's 30, and I have more concerns about his quarterback than maybe I do a couple of these other guys. So, which is,
and the thing is,
with Tua,
I mean, when we're talking about wide receiver, there are so many more of them than we're dealing with QB and running back and even tight end. I mean, there's guys we didn't mention: Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra,
Jamar Chase,
Stephon Diggs. Jamar Chase. Like, there are so many just top tier. It really comes down to, like you said, if I have to pick a squad of 3 receivers I want on my team, who do you pick? Right?
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard not to put like Amon-Ra or Jamar Chase.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't, to be honest. You love love that Lions offense, so I actually kind of thought he was going to be on there.
I do, but you got to make your picks, and I just feel like it's not going to always be the same 3 guys every year. That's why I gave AJ Brown the tip this year. So
I had a Chase Brown and Devontae Adams sitting around in my 3 spot playing with them all. But Devontae Adams was going to be 32 this year.
I mean, if you're projecting big years, like Justin, you were talking about fantasy. I toyed with Drake London for a minute because I think he's going to have a massive year with Kirk Cousins. But I think maybe we should save some of that and maybe do like a fantasy who we looking at type of
Sure. All right.
So let's move on to tight end.
Tight end here. So I'm my third tight end, and I put a little asterisk next to his name here for a reason. George Kittle is a badass, and I've been watching that receiver program on Netflix, and he's just so fun. Talk about a guy that you want to be on a team with, right? Like he's so cool and so fun. But the reason I put him here and I put the asterisk there is because it's leaning like it looks like Brandon Ayuk might get traded, which then if that does happen, I really do think that they're going to have to lean on George Kittle a little bit more in the passing game. So that's why I threw him in here at number 3. We all know he's capable of having the big weeks. I just think that he's going to be more involved on a regular basis than what he has been in the past couple of years. It's because, and the only reason is it's not because he's not capable of it. It's because a lot of times they use him in the run game, blocking game a lot.
Yep.
My number 2 tight end is Dalton Kincaid, and this goes along with your quarterback, Josh Allen. There is nobody else really in Buffalo these days. And Dalton Kincaid, in the last 4 games of last season, I think 3 times he had 85 or more yards. He really started stepping up his game. And who else is Allen going to go to? So I do think that Kincaid has a big year this year. And the top guy on my list is Sam Laporta. In that Detroit offense, there's really the 2 receivers in that offense are Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta works the middle of the field. He's tough as nails, and it seems like he's finding the end zone, almost every week. So I like as a rookie, he was awesome last year, and I like him to take that next step. And I love some of these other guys that you guys have on your list. However, age factors are scaring me.
Yep, and that's just going to be why we came at it and are saying different perspectives.
Yep.
So Nat, why don't you go ahead and run through your tight ends here?
For starters, when I was watching Justin put it in sheets, because I was putting him just for Justin, I thought you just copy and pasted Kittle, and I thought that's what the asterisk was. Like you're putting it off a sheet, and that's what. So then I was like, waiting to see that. So, but I thought age 2 in mind, but I was going backwards with Justin. I was actually like, I had Hawkinson on a short list, Laporta on a short list, but I didn't think, and McBride out of Arizona, but I didn't think any of them had sustained the success long enough for me to put them in a top 3, win a Super Bowl. I might definitely run with them in a fantasy, but I didn't have them in for going for a Super Bowl who I'd want back there. Though I could see why Justin would pick the way he did. My third one was Mark Andrews out of Baltimore. Just sustained success. He's just a man child, and I've kind of even when I was playing fantasy, just kind of watched his career over the years, and then double checking today, making sure he's still got that fire in him. And so I went there. My second one, I went with George Kittle. There's a quarter to the donation jar. I've always liked him. Maybe it's because he's a Bears fan. I don't know, but they're another one to the coin jar. But growing up living a few years in Bay Area, getting to watch his success out there, watching on local TV, and everyone loved him, and seeing the fact that it's still going or not living in Bay Area when he's doing success, but having friends in Bay Area who kept over the last few years telling me about the success. I went there, and then Travis Kelce, GOAT resume building right now. He didn't even have his best year. He just kind of kicked it up towards the end and still, fucked around and got a Super Bowl. I'd run with him still at this point. That's up.
Yep. All right. Fair enough. My third tight end is David Njoku. Guy is just an athletic freak. And every time Cleveland needed a big play, it was Flacco to Njoku. He's getting it done. And again, this is kind of where that weird mix of if I want a guy on my team that I know is going to give me everything he's got, I believe he's one of those guys. And also he gets involved in that run game. And, the big thing with these tight ends now is, can they run routes? Can they catch? I also need them in line blocking, right? And they're more valuable to me if they can do both and excel at both. And he's one of those guys that can do that. And that's what made me put George Kittle in my second place, because again, he is used on that line a lot. He is used as a blocker and enthusiastically. That guy kind of reminds me, second Mighty Duck reference of the night, of one of the Bash Brothers. He's just really ready to get in there and mix it up. I said Minnesota Miracle Man earlier, so you can
Bash Brothers. What's that from?
Mighty Ducks. I just said it was my second Mighty Ducks.
He's a Bay Area tight end, and the biggest Bash Brothers I think of are the Oakland Athletics Bash Brothers of Conseco and McGuire.
And
so
again,
he looked like McGuire.
I also have Travis Kelce as my top one. At this point in time, he's earned it. We just talked about it with Mahomes. You can't not have him in there because he's earned the spot, right? And I know, Justin, from you're looking at it of what the year's going to look like. Again, I'm looking from a different perspective of just, I'm going to put him on my team. When they needed him, he showed up.
Yeah.
Right. And he's given you everything he's got. And you mentioned it with Kittle, a guy you just probably want to hang out with because he's probably just going to be a good time. He's right there. Side note, you had Dalton Kincaid. I was this close to putting Dawson Knox as my third. For two reasons. One, because again, we talk about, I want them to be able to block and run routes. And before Kincaid got there this last year, that was Dawson Knox. He was doing that for you. And I expect you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets, and he's still going to be involved with it this year. But also the same thing you talked about with CeeDee Lamb winning you a lot of money. I like to do the first touchdown bet a lot with my DraftKings Sportsbook. And the only times I have ever hit have been with Dawson Knox. 4 times I have hit with Dawson Knox as a first touchdown bet. So I had to, no, take the blinders off. But it's funny you put in Kincaid because I almost threw Knox up in there. So he must have 2 Buffalo tight ends.
Let me just clarify. Travis Kelce is probably my favorite non-Bear football player in the NFL, and has been far before, and probably more so before this whole Taylor Swift phenomena crap has taken over social media and everything. But good for the guy. He shot his shot and he at the top and went for it. But he is awesome. And again, I think I ran my championship last year because of Mahomes, Lamb, and Kelce was the core of my team. But Kelce, I watched a lot because he is such one of my favorite players. I watched him play a lot, and really in the second half of the last season, he slowed down a lot. He came off the field a lot more than he had been. He was being more used in situational aspects, and they did add more weapons to the team, I think, to take some pressure off of him so that he can make it through the season a little bit. He's probably going to retire after this year. So he's one of the best ever at the position, and I'm not. I was looking at fantasy production for what's going to happen in this upcoming season.
And that's it. It makes a difference on how we were coming at it. And as you can see, our lists, while they have similarities, they're different in spots because we were looking at it from completely different perspectives, which is kind of the fun of, hey, if you're just going to give me your top three, it's an opinion piece, right? So that was fun. I'd say let's do a defensive one, but I don't think any of us really want to do that. But I think maybe as we get another week or two in here, maybe we should do a fantasy, just a fantasy football purely. Who are we looking at?
Yep, definitely.
So we can dig a little bit deeper and look at it that way. All right, boys, we did it. Nat, you got any final thoughts?
We did it, and we didn't have one Bear on our entire list. I don't know what to say about that.
I'm proud of us. Justin, what do you got?
Probably.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm in football mode now. We've had a game. We've got more games coming up this week. Starting to do the research for fantasy as we discussed, and really fall is on the way. I did order a new jersey for myself and for my son, and we'll hopefully those turn out. That's all I'll say about that. That's all I will say about that.
All right. Well, we'll have that discussion offline because there was conversations about some bulk ordering, but we'll move on. Yeah, talk about being in football mode. I fired up my SQL server and started loading up stats. I fired up our studio, got my Power BI stuff going. I'm really starting to dig down into the weeds and pull stuff apart. Because hot damn, it's fun. I just got to be real careful as I start preparing for a fantasy draft at the end of the month, about 3 weeks from today, to not get too buried in them weeds because it gets real dangerous if you get too far into it.
Are we going to try to do a league one? Like an ABC one?
We will have that conversation offline as well. And with that, I want to thank everybody that stuck around this long. We really, really appreciate you. Again, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is for whatever platform you are watching. God bless you, because we need you. And until next time, try to avoid making another bad call.